We got a fabulous guest for you today. We're coming to you from San Diego. Laughter and Wellness and Joy Weekend. Reverend Michael Beckwith is with us. He's the star of the movie The Secret. Also, you may have seen him on Oprah Winfrey, and of course CNN, and lots of other stations all across the country. Welcome. It's nice to have you.
Oh, it's my joy to be here with you.
You're talking about joy, and my question to you is, it's difficult for a lot of people to have joy when there's so much hurdles and obstacles in our world, particularly the suffering and pain, killings and shootings across our country and around the world. How do you find joy amidst all of that, Reverend Michael?
You actually have to train yourself to look for it. First of all, when we are seeing the suffering around the world and all the different images that come to us, we have to be aware that most people on the planet aren't going through that. That the news gives us a very small little experience of the lowest common denominator of the human experience. So most people aren't waking up shooting people. Most people aren't getting robbed, raped. That's not happening to most of the population. That's happening to a very small portion of the population. So first of all, we have to have our facts correct. And then secondly, we have to actually look for a reason to be joyful. And when you begin to train your mind to look for a reason to be joyful, then your perception opens up. And you begin to see more and more reasons to be grateful and joyful. And then you get on a kind of an energetic momentum. And your perception expands, and you're able to see that life really is good. Life is magnificent. It's beautiful. A tremendous amount of gratitude takes over your energy. And what happens is you become a servant of the joy. You're able to bring the joy and the happiness and the love into every room that you step into. You're not looking to go get it, so you're looking to give it. So this is the deal. Many people go through life picking up vibrations. They go into a room, they go into a place. What I invite people to do is to impute vibrations, to radiate vibrations. That is, before you walk into a room, you say to yourself, what do I want to meet on the other side of this door? And then you generate it, and then you take it into the room. What do I want to meet today? And then you feel, I want to meet a lot of joy today. I want to meet a lot of peace. You go within and you generate it, and then you take it with you. Now, since everything is vibration, when you start to vibrate at a higher frequency, you become impervious to the lower frequencies of doubt and fear and separation.
So you don't get sucked into that.
You don't get sucked into it, and you become a beneficial presence. Now, this does not mean you don't see negative things happening on the planet, but your vibration is high so that you grow in compassion, and you end up asking, how can I serve?
I was going to ask you, what do you do mentally, physically, and emotionally, and psychologically when you witness suffering and pain in our world? Homelessness, sickness, shootings, killings. I know it's only a small portion of what we observe and what we see through the medium of television, newspapers and magazines and internet and Facebook and social media, which is huge right now. A story can happen and it's heard around the world very, very quickly. What do you do to get yourself into a state where this does not affect you? Because I'm affected by the pain and suffering of the world. I'm affected by the homelessness of the world. I'm affected by killings and shootings and things that happen in our world. So what do you do physiologically and mentally and emotionally when that happens, or when you observe it?
Two things occur. One, when the heart breaks, when we're able to see the destruction and negativity, the heart cracks open, and that gives birth to compassion. Compassion asks the question, how can I serve? So there's sympathy, there's empathy, and there's compassion. Sympathy says, I'm going to sympathize with you. I'm going to feel the same thing you're feeling. That doesn't help. Empathy says, I'm going to feel for you.
Right.
It's higher than sympathy, but it's not the highest. The highest is compassion. Compassion says, I'm not going to get into that frequency with you, but I'm going to ask, how can I alleviate suffering? So when I see stuff going on the planet, I ask, what is my role? Sometimes my role is to pray. Sometimes my role is to donate. Sometimes my role is to become a part of a project that assists whatever's going on in the world. But when I ask, how can I serve, I'm not stuck in the muck of sympathy. I'm now at a high form of love called compassion.
And you've made a decision.
Yes, I've made a decision. I've made a choice. And that compassion leads me to the action that's appropriate for me. Everyone has a different mission. Some people are teachers. Some people are singers. Some people write books. Some people can go in and be a part of an emergency team to save lives. Everyone has a gift. So when I ask, how can I serve, then my gift is utilized.
Yeah, and the great Martin Luther King, I'm reminded of him. I read all his works, they're just remarkable. He said, everybody can be great because everybody can serve, and you don't have to see the whole staircase.
Right.
Just take the first step.
Right.
I'm reminded of that.
Yes.
And
I met him
Oh.
when I was 11 years old.
Oh, and what happened to you when you met that man and you knew his work, and what went through you? Did you want to be like him? Did you want to do that type of work?
My mother took me to hear him speak at Homelands Methodist Church. After he finished speaking, I shook his hand, and I said to my mom, his hands are really soft. And she said, baby, he does a different kind of work.
Yes.
And so our home was flooded with his talks and his speeches all the time. So it was just a part of our emotional and mental and spiritual background, the voice of Dr. King. So I had a chance to meet him. I had a chance to meet Nelson Mandela. I had a chance to work with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Arya Ratne out of Sri Lanka, Howard Thurman.
Did this shape your life and what you do now?
Their energies affected me. You see, all of the beings that I've mentioned.
You probably grew up differently than I. Back in my native Ireland, I grew up amidst the troubles in Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
I witnessed shootings, petrol bombs, injuries, killings. It scared me as a young man, and I written about it in some of my
witnessed
books.
the birth of gangs in my neighborhood.
Right, and you grew up in Washington.
I grew up in L.A. I was from Washington,
right.
But I remember when the gangs started emerging in the neighborhood, and I remember when a friend of ours, Boynton, got killed. I remember that energy coming up, and what I remember is a friend of mine, Reggie. He's now known as Nirvana Reginald Gale. He's also a minister. We sat under a tree one day. We were teenagers, like 15, 14. We looked up at the stars and we asked, how can we be of service to help change the world? We were teenagers asking this question. And so the universe has been answering that question ever since with what we have become and what we're doing. So we saw the rise of the gangs. We were at the object of police brutality. I remember I couldn't even jog around my neighborhood. If I started running, the police would stop us and say, "What are you running for?" I said, "We're jogging," know. And so we grew up in interesting times, but we asked a question: how can we change the world? And so when Dr. King was assassinated, that question blazed on my heart: how can we change the world? Yeah. And I still live in that question. How can I be a beneficial presence? How can I serve? How can I make a difference? And the universe is giving me more ways to be of service. And that's how I see myself, as an instrument.
We're sure glad that you're doing that.
Yeah.
Finally, you just came back from Costa Rica.
Yes.
Costa Rica, you just shared with us that a current or riptide almost took you out. And what you said was very profound. You said that you called out and asked for help.
I did.
Who were you calling to?
I just said, help. I need help. And
you surrender to the possibility of the infinite intelligence
of the
universe, right?
Yes.
Because I've been to Agape. I've been going since I came from Ireland, and it's certainly changed my life. I've given my life up to the higher good, the goodness of the universe, and giving back to others. And there's so much richness and blessings. Were you afraid at any time that you might die?
There was a moment where I thought I was going to die. And I wasn't afraid of death. I became aware that I wasn't afraid of dying, but I saw all the people I was connected with. I saw my daughter on the beach.
And you had clear, congruent thinking, you said, which allowed you to connect with your family. And you said, this is not my time.
Yes.
I have more to do and things
I said,
that I
I'm
need
going
to
to
serve.
ruin these people's day.
Right.
That's what I said.
Right.
That's what I said. I said, I'm going to ruin a lot of people's days today.
We can't have that.
And I said,
you're much too young.
I've got to get back. I programmed my mind. I actually said to my mind, regardless of how tired the body gets, keep on going. So with all the agony of exhaustion, I have a sunburn all here and all here because I was treading and swimming.
Right.
Regardless of the agony of exhaustion, keep going. So I allowed no thought of giving up.
Or no negativity.
No negative thought to come in at all.
Because cycle of the mind, as we know, makes some of the body sick, right?
Right.
So
then I said, I said, help. I need help. And then there was like a stillness, and then these 3 waves came in.
Answer from the universe.
Yes. And it gave me momentum.
Mindful in the experience in the
Yes.
moment.
Right. And once I had that momentum, it still took me a period of time to get in. I never gave up, kept going, kept going. And when I hit that sand, I was totally exhausted, but the gratitude and the thanksgiving and the appreciation was overwhelming. And my mind
And the joy.
is totally full of this presence. There's nothing there. There's no projection into the future. There's just the presence. I didn't want to have to go through that to get here, but I don't mind.
I'm sure glad that you're here. Thank you for spending some time with us. We appreciate you very much.
It's my joy.
Reverend Michael Beckwith from Agape International. We'll be back with more. I'm Dr. Tony.